Geological Events and Morgans for this fantastic forum. You've no doubt heard a lot about companies focusing on projects and the like. Our story has nothing to do with focus at all. We are a globally attending resource company creator. We're a little bit like the resource version of the way Macquarie Bank started. We create the assets on one side and we look after them and finance them on the other side. So I'm not going to tell you specifically about any one of the companies in which we have major interests as a result of creating them. I'm more going to tell you all about the sorts of philosophy and processes that we've been through to create some of these things, exemplify some of those phenomena with aspects of those various companies, and give you some idea about what we've got coming up in the future. But the really key thing I want to point out to you is that ore bodies don't occur in conventionally predictable places. They occur on the edge of change of systems, and we find it opportune to exemplify that with maps of nebulae in the universe. And it all comes down to scale. We like to identify patterns in data, which helps us tell what scale we need to be looking at to find tier one resources that will attract financiers and even takeover bids from other companies. So, excuse my voice, I've got a bit of a cold, but DGR currently holds 5 positions in companies which we believe each has the potential to result in the development of tier one resource assets in oil and gas, gold, copper, tin, electricity, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we did it, what we've got at the moment, and where we're going to. So we find ourselves in an environment where the resource price cycles are out of sync with the availability of capital. Now this drives the decisions of majors who find it difficult to invest capital in projects when the prices of commodities are low. We, on the other hand, believe that that's just when you should be exploring for some of these major projects, so we're very counter-cyclical. The world's got 4 billion people urbanising over the next 20 years. That's going to drive an inexorable growth for commodities. We can't see how the development plans for major resources and reserves around the world can keep pace with this demand, and accordingly we see prices going up. So DGR is focusing on using fast-moving, very talented geoscientists using state-of-the-art exploration techniques to identify big systems which can yield these tier one ore bodies. We do it in emerging nations that scare most majors away, and that's why these opportunities exist there. So Ecuador, Gabon, Chad, these are some of the places that our daughter companies are exploring. And in terms of where we are in the investment cycle, first of all, thanks very much to Line Selection for publicising this very handy investment cycle clock. It's used quite frequently, and it's a very good one for demonstrating that at the moment we are entering another cycle of resource investment boom. Companies who spend a lot of time on analysis of markets like BHP, Rio, etc., can see that there is some very deep, big demand changes coming, and that's going to drive prices upwards, and they're all starting to come out of the woodwork looking for good projects. DGR has already got itself set in some projects around the world in its daughter companies which have the potential to yield the sorts of ore bodies that will attract development capital and the attention of majors. So we start down the bottom of this, this diagram here with a new idea. It's based on choosing the right commodity in a country that offers a lot of attention from government and regulators to help you get your project going. And we work it up through the various phases of exploration and ultimately get to production, like in Austin Mining and Armour Energy, where we're now producing tin and oil respectively, and soon in Armour we believe gas, condensate and LPG as well. So This is a cycle, it's a pipeline. We like to keep our pipeline full. We have no focus at all. We're creators and, if you like, geo artists. So how do we do it? The most important thing is people. You've got to have the right people. If you have the right people, you can generate any number of fantastic resource exploration ideas, and that attracts capital. We do that by recognising the importance of scale in identifying patterns in data. Too frequently, resource explorers look on too small a scale. They can't see patterns emerge in the data, and they therefore aren't able to predict where they're going to get the next great exploration results. So we have been able, especially in SolGold and Armour, to identify patterns in the data that we have in our projects, and that's leading to some very high success rates in SolGold. The right stuff, we look for the right commodities. These are commodities that are demanded by a urbanising population globally. We look in the best place. These are countries in proven provinces that have previously not had Tier 1 accreditation by some of the world's majors and financiers, but they're coming out of that. The demands of the World Bank and OECD nations generally is that some of these countries clean up their act, and they are becoming more and more acceptable. And lastly, we apply the latest in technical innovation to help identify where the mineralised material is going to be. So a little bit about some of our people. We start with really big thinkers. Len Kolff in the middle there generates Iron Ridge's projects in Africa. Iron Ridge is an Africa-centred exploration company. Neil Wilkins has been working for DGR for years now, helping to put together great projects for our group. Peter Bubendorfer is pathologically generative, especially in the oil and gas space. In fact, he was instrumental in the definition of Arrow Energy's coal seam gas projects way back when Arrow Energy was formed. Down on the bottom row there, Jason Ward and Ben Whistler are getting almost global accreditation from the world's majors for the way in which they've been running SolGold's project in Ecuador, big porphyry copper gold project. I've been associated happily with a number of executives who've been passionately dedicated to the creation of these companies, and the top row there, Peter Lynch, Richard Loffman, Nick Davies, of course, with Arrow Energy, which eventually disappeared for $3.5 billion in cash, and Peter Spears most recently created Orbis Gold. So we like executives who are passionate, dedicated and heavily invested. And the next row there are the next bunch of executives who I'm very confident will deliver the same sort of results. I want to tell you a little bit about patterns. You can see there from that small circle there, which is just a prospect, that if you look at just a prospect scale, you're not going to see a pattern in the data. You're not going to know where to look next. So we like looking at fields and provinces to see where you get the spatial frequency for the location of ore bodies, and that helps our exploration programs. And this is exemplified in no better way than what we're finding at the Cascabel copper-gold porphyry system for SolGold in Ecuador. So we can see spatial frequency to the cluster of porphyry copper-gold targets that we've identified here, and recognise very important patterns such as high copper-zinc ratios and holes in the manganese signature in soils, which tell us where these porphyry systems are. So that's been able to rapidly help us identify where there are some very important targets. We think big. Armour's MacArthur Basin project is as big as the Cooper Basin, and we own 100% of it. There's massive upside there, notwithstanding the difficulties that we've just been through with that project. We like to think laterally. We like to think what it looked like back when it was being formed. And 1.2 billion years ago, the MacArthur Basin was part of a long equatorial string of what is now fabulous, big, rich oil and gas fields littered across the world as we now know historically. We like to go after the right commodities, so iron, aluminium, gas and coal to power it, copper to wire it, fertilisers to feed us, and gold is, of course, a great form of money and one which transcends historical changes. So these are the commodities where we're really focused on. You've got to look at copper. At no time like now has there been such a difference between the copper price and the copper demand, and that's meaning that we need a new Escondida every 15 months. For armour in Queensland, gas is improving in price as a result of an increased demand profile, and that's going to be great for armour. We have a project in southwestern New South Wales that promises, southeastern Queensland, which promises to deliver some very great revenues once we recommence it. But we have already commenced oil production there from the Emu Apple field, and there's a picture of some of the brown stuff, oil, going into the bucket from the start of oil production last week. So very big future in front of armour. Dark Horse is an electricity company. Yes, it's starting with a coal project, but that coal project we believe is going to turn into an energy solution for Argentina. So we're talking with the Argentinian government about how to transform their nation's energy economics. And we have also a new lithium province in Cordoba province in northern Argentina. We look in well-endowed mineral provinces, and we look in countries that are not necessarily the flavour of the month to start with, but they're putting a lot of effort into getting better. They're helping you. And that's why we like Gabon, we like Ecuador, and we like Argentina. And these countries are all, we think, tremendous places to explore. And to tell you a little bit about innovation, most of the surface deposits have already been found, the really obvious ones. So you've got to think about smart geophysical techniques to look deep, and that's why we're so focused on three-dimensional magnetic modelling at Cascabel, particularly the Alpala prospect in Ecuador. So the relationship between copper and that black mineral there, magnetite, is leading to a three-dimensional isosurface for magnetics. That's the blue surface there. It's coincident with mineralised holes that we find at Alpala, and the existence of the big moran feature to the north of it suggests to us very strongly that there's another one there. And when you compare the size of this thing and the configuration of it to the Hugo Dummett ore body at Oyo Tolgai, you can see why both we and some of the world's major copper gold companies are so excited by this very intriguing project. So we have interest ranging between 16 and 26% in these companies, and that results in excuse me, a breakup value of about 60 million for this company at the moment. We currently have a market cap of excuse me, about 20 million, so ridiculously undervalued, and it denies the opportunities in front of us as well. High grades set our projects apart. High grades enable you to float over the top of adverse cycles in metal prices. Copper and gold at Alpala for Cascabel, tin with the very exciting Granville project, high-grade lithium projects in northern Argentina, and Iron Ridge's very exciting Tecton project in Chad are all examples of this. So we've got a very exciting time over the next quarter with some major developments coming up in all of our daughter companies. And I urge you to, I'm not going to go through this list in detail, but there is exciting stuff coming up for all of these daughter companies, and I expect that to kick off in the next couple of days to a week, and there'll be a steady stream of good information. So if you would like more information on our projects and our philosophy, our track record and what we have planned for the future, please come around to our booth, and Eliza Michael, Prue McLean, or Greg Runge will help you get across some of the details if you're interested. So there's a quick capital structure. We've got 550 million shares on issue, trading currently at about 3.5, so ridiculously undervalued. And thank you very much for hearing the DGR story. Thank you.